Sarcófago was one of the most important and influential bands in the South American extreme metal scene. Their influence not only played a vital role in shaping extreme subgenres in this continent, but also had a significant impact on the European continent, where their extreme music and distinctive image influenced the primitive black metal scene that was just beginning to emerge. To fully understand the history of Sarcófago, it is crucial to delve into some events that took place in Brazil and were the root cause of the emergence of one of the strongest metal scenes in the world. One such event that undoubtedly sparked fascination for music styles like rock and heavy metal among the younger generations in Brazil was the first Rock in Rio in 1985 in Rio de Janeiro. Legendary bands such as Queen, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Scorpions, and Ozzy Osbourne participated in the festival, which was a massive success with 1.4 million spectators. As a result of this fascination, bands formed in the early 80s, such as Ratos de Porão, Vulcano, or Dorsal Atlântica, began gaining more recognition and started performing in various locations across the country. Here, an important record store in Belo Horizonte transformed into a record label under the name Cogumelo Records, playing a fundamental role in the history of Brazilian metal and Sarcófago. Pat Pereira and João Eduardo, the founders of Cogumelo Records, witnessed a concert that would completely change their perception of what they knew as metal until then. Overdose was performing that day, and with them, a band that would later revolutionize the scene, Sepultura. Formed by guitarist Max Possessed, vocalist Wagner Antichrist, and drummer Igor Skullcrusher, they performed after Overdose in front of a significantly reduced audience. Despite this, Pat and João were impressed and fascinated with Sepultura. Later, they would release a legendary split featuring Sepultura and Overdose. However, by the time of its release, Wagner had already left the band due to a disagreement with other members. Wagner received an invitation to join a new band formed by Zeter Butcher on guitar and Eduardo D.D. Crazy on drums. Wagner accepted the invitation, marking the beginning of a group with a vision and style far ahead of its time, named Sarcófago. In October 1985, Sarcófago participated in the Metal BH2 festival alongside other bands, including Sepultura. Up to this point, there were no issues between the members of both bands, and they got along well. However, with the release of the split Bestial Devastation Seculo XX, Sepultura included a song titled Antichrist, composed by Wagner and using his pseudonym. Wagner was upset to realize that the song had been included in the split without his permission, and from that moment, the relationship between Wagner and the members of Sepultura would never be the same. In 1986, Sarcófago released their first official demo, Satanic Lust, with a very rudimentary production, showing early signs of a raw and aggressive sound, though not yet fully developed. By this time, Sepultura had gained popularity in the scene, performing concerts with thousands of attendees, a significant achievement for that era. Due to the success of the first split released by Cogumelo Records, Pat and João wanted to release a new one, this time featuring the participation of 4 bands. Vladimir, an employee of the label who introduced them to Sarcófago, was tasked with gathering the bands for this new split. This led to one of the most important milestones in Brazilian extreme metal, with the participation of Chacal, Sarcófago, Multilater, and Holocausto. The split Warfare Noise was released through Cogumelo Records on November 30th, 1986. Only 1,000 copies were produced, quickly selling out and becoming a great success. The 4 bands showcased excellent levels of aggression, rawness, and speed, setting a historic precedent for South American metal. Due to the success of the split, João from Cogumelo Records offered each of the 4 bands the opportunity to record a full album as a token of appreciation. This is how Sarcófago gradually began to generate a significant impact and gain great attention among fans. Meanwhile, Sepultura was already participating in major concerts, opening for international bands like Venom. The strained relationship between these two bands led to fights, arguments, and mistreatment among the members. In 1987, Gyro Tormentor left Sepultura, and Andreas Kisser took his place. However, Andreas had a very poor relationship with the members of Sarcófago. Andreas, along with João Gordo from Ratos de Porão, who had become close friends, used to mock the attire of Sarcófago members. The situation escalated during one of their performances, leading to chaos. In the midst of the turmoil, Wagner punched João, and D.D. Crazy smashed a beer bottle over Andreas's head. Thanks to the proposal made by João Eduardo of Cogumelo, which had been previously extended to Sarcófago and other bands participating in the Warfare Noise split, the band managed to shift its focus to the music, setting aside conflicts to dedicate themselves to recording their new album. In 1987, in addition to releasing a demo titled Christ's Death, the band would unveil its first full-length album, INRI. This album is considered the band's flagship, credited to the blast beat executed by D.D. Crazy on drums, the aggressive vocals of Wagner Antichrist, the fast and raw guitar work of Zader Butcher, and the infernal bass of Gerald Incubus. Alongside a visual aesthetic and corpse paint showcased on its cover that would influence future black metal bands, INRI became a cornerstone that pushed extreme metal to its maximum expression. The devastating and brutally fast sound also served as an influence for the development of subgenres and even more extreme blends between death metal and black metal. Thanks to this album, Sarcófago's name and music traveled to different corners of the world, reaching the ears of future European black metal bands like Mayhem and Beherit. Later on, rumors surfaced that Sarcófago had disbanded and would not release any more albums. In reality, the members had moved to different cities, with Gerald Incubus being the only member who stayed in Belo Horizonte. However, Wagner, who had traveled to Uberlandia to study economics, contacted Incubus to convince him to travel and reform the band. Wagner also persuaded the talented drummer Manu Joker to join them. The band reformed, and in 1989, they released a rehearsal demo titled Rehearsals 89, showcasing a decent sound and indicating that this new lineup was ready for something more serious. Wagner then contacted Cogumelo Records, and the band traveled back to Belo Horizonte to record new material, releasing the EP Rotting in 1989. The EP featured songs with longer durations, displaying an evolved sound with atmospheric elements and rhythm changes, reflecting the band's significant progress, especially in the drumming of new member Manu Joker. This EP was the band's first international release, and the cover depicting a figure of death licking the face of Jesus Christ had a censored version released by Maze Records in America. The original cover was replaced, and a sticker was added with the text featuring original lead singer of Sepultura, infuriating the band members, especially Wagner, who wanted no association with Sepultura. In 1990, Sarcófago found itself in a new dispute, this time with Ratos de Porão. The conflict arose when the American band DRI made their first visit to Brazil, and Sarcófago was chosen to open for them. João Gordo, a member of Ratos de Porão, threatened to withdraw from the lineup if Wagner and his band were included, taking it personally since the performances were in São Paulo, where they were local. However, Sarcófago was ultimately included, and João carried out his threat. On August 17, 1990, after DRI finished their performance, João Gordo entered Sarcófago's dressing room with members of the bands Corzus and RDP. They found Wagner drunk on the floor and, in revenge for an incident years ago, João punched him, leading to a brawl between the members of Sarcófago, Corzus, and RDP, with DRI members trying to calm the situation. Nevertheless, DRI's road manager ended up with a broken arm. In 1991, during the peak of death metal's popularity, Sarcófago released their album The Laws of Scourge, where the band reconsidered its sound, leaning towards more technical death metal with better production and sophisticated composition. This album showcased a significant technical and experimental evolution influenced by members Fabio Giasco on guitar and Lucio Oliver on drums. Sarcófago demonstrated versatility and an interest in exploring various extreme subgenres while maintaining common patterns throughout their albums. The release of this album led to Sarcófago's largest tour to date. They visited countries in South America such as Peru and Chile and performed in Portugal and Spain in Europe. Additionally, in 1992, Sarcófago released the EP Crush, Kill, Destroy, which achieved notable success due to the doors opened by their previous album. An unfortunate incident during this extensive tour occurred when the band was supposed to play in Lima, Peru. Wagner was stranded at the airport in a state of drunkenness and couldn't make it to the concert. Fabio ended up doing the vocals throughout the entire show. Sometime later, Wagner and Gerald wanted the band to return to a more raw and aggressive sound, sacrificing the technical aspect. This creative difference led to them parting ways with Fabio Giasco and Lucio Oliver, who had influenced the band's more technical side. In 1994, Sarcófago released their third studio album, Hate, with the intention of returning to their more primitive sounds. However, the album was not well received as it did not reflect this intention. Additionally, programmed drums were introduced, somewhat deviating the band from their characteristic sound. In 1996, Wagner and Gerald decided to release a new album titled The Worst, showing a completely different side from what Sarcófago had been years before. The lyrics were more positive, and the sound was less aggressive, deviating entirely from the band's previous style. In 2000, Sarcófago recorded the EP Crust, but it was never released, and the band officially split up that year. Currently, some members have moved away from music, such as Wagner, who holds a doctorate in economics from the University of Viçosa and is a professor of accounting sciences at the Federal University of Minas Gerais. He has published various articles and participated in national and international economics and finance conferences. However, he also has a cover band and does not rule out the possibility of a Sarcófago reunion. And thus, the story of this band concludes. Despite Sarcófago's history of conflicts, alcohol abuse, and multiple lineup changes, the undeniable legacy they have left behind is notable. They are considered one of the most important bands for extreme metal in Brazil and the rest of the world.